I'm Elliot, a writer, and I'm going to be typing out The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Why? Because that is something that Hunter S Thompson did because he wanted to see what it would be like to write a masterpiece. Now that I have some time on my hand, I figured out it would be a good opportunity for me to copy a classic word for word. So please join me every Saturday until I finish the whole novel. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 4, week 4 of me, Elliot, typing out The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. What a week. It has been a crazy week. How's everybody doing? I'm good. I'm good. Still sane. I think. I'm not sure anymore. Because it's hard to tell what sanity is anymore. You kind of just exist. You kind of just am now. It's hard to gauge it, you know? But I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are staying healthy, staying positive, putting your energy into good areas. I'm finding myself to be quite tired. I have like spurts of energy and then I'm like, a little bit drained, but we're getting by. It's a kind of a nice day today. It's a little overcast. A little weather report for you here in Vancouver. It's a little overcast today, which is kind of good. So it's not, the sun isn't like beaming right at me while I'm doing this. What else is new? How are you guys? Yeah, so let's get this show on the road, I suppose. I still find myself to not really be too articulate today. Yeah. It's been tricky speaking, because I find myself not talking as much to people, I suppose, just in day-to-day life. Not that I enjoy talking to people, right? So it's good to be antisocial a little bit. What am I doing? Sorry, I'm a little scattered today. Please bear with me. So one of the fun things we're doing, it's super fun in this little project, is I'm sharing fun facts about F. Scott Fitzgerald. Today, the fun fact will involve Ernest Hemingway. This is super fun. It's really exciting. Really good stuff here. Okay. During the 1920s, F. Scott Fitzgerald and Hemingway became really close friends really quickly. The thing was that Hemingway developed a pretty intense dislike towards Zelda Fitzgerald, F. Scott's wife. He saw her as a little crazy, kind of like all of us right now. I don't know if locked inside the room type of crazy, but she was a little abrasive, and Hemingway didn't like that. Hemingway also saw her as a bit of a distraction. And when I'm saying Hemingway, I mean Ernest Hemingway, the author of Old Man and the Sea and other titles. And he saw her as a bit of a distraction for Fitzgerald because he believed that if she wasn't there, Fitzgerald could have done many more great works, but instead he had to spend time with his wife. Classic Hemingway. And so they had a falling out, and Hemingway ended up writing kind of some not too positive things about Fitzgerald, kind of slamming him later on in the decade, and they had a falling out. There you go. That's the fun fact of the day, and it just reminds us to kind of be gentle with our friends, and kind of also realize that the friends we have, they come in and out of our lives, and depending on what we're pursuing and what values we have towards these friendships, we get to decide whether it's worth keeping or worth saying that this was fun for a while, I got what I had, I still respect you for who you are, but I need to type The Great Gatsby. And if you do not support that, we cannot be friends anymore. And yeah, that's just, so, I mean, it's kind of a tricky time to have friends. I don't even know how you would make new friends during this day and age, but love always conquers. Love always finds a way. And on that note, let's start typing. Okay. I guess before we get too deep into this, I will catch you up on what happened previously. So last episode, previously on Typing the Great Gatsby with Elliot Chan, Nick, our our narrator, Nick, found himself at a dinner party, a little bit of an awkward dinner party with his cousin and Daisy and Tom, her husband, and this lady, Miss Baker. And it was a kind of awkward conversation between the three. And what ended up happening is Miss Baker ended up gossiping. She's kind of a gossipy lady. And she ended up telling Nick that Tom himself is potentially being unfaithful to Daisy, Nick's cousin. So he's kind of a slimy character. He's not that pleasant. He's kind of it's a little bit of a racist. And Daisy, she seems to be like a fun, cheerful, maybe a little bit depressed kind of character. So that's where we are right now. Wicker City. I don't know. Have I ever sat on a wicker settee? I always, when you could feel the tension there, it's like, we just need to like break this tension and just like have a conversation about something light, like heartfelt. Like, have you seen any funny movies lately? What is like a movie you've seen recently is a good one. It's kind of like small talk is what Nick is trying to do right now, because you can really feel the tension from Daisy, and it's done very interestingly here. So he's just noticing different aspects of her, and her eyes move gradually into the velvet dusk. I saw the turbulent emotion possessed her, and it's just like she's kind of upset about this whole Tom thing, but he never really says that. We just feel it from what has just happened. So this paragraph here is done very interestingly. It's approached very interestingly. He knows that she loves her daughter, and maybe that's like a good avenue to, like, surely she'll say like fun, happy thing. This will cheer her up, talking about her daughter. Uh-oh. I like that's such a good response. Oh no. War, not way. I wasn't back from the war, which is, I think it just exonerates you from any responsibility, right? I mean, should we ever get to go back to normal life and actually attend an event or be invited to an event and decide that maybe I'll just flake, maybe I'm a little tired, I'm just gonna flake. But we can say next time when someone approaches us about that, it's like, hey, you missed that party, you missed my wedding. It's like, I wasn't back from the war, this pandemic war we're fighting. Just wasn't back from it yet. Just not ready. I'm gonna say that. I think it's gonna go over real well. It's gonna be super funny. Everybody will have a laugh, and we'll all forget about the pain that we feel of being, I guess, dismissed or forgotten or not validated, or just feel unimportant. But we are clearly seeing here that Nick is not doing a very good job at dampening the tension. Everything cynical. Cynicism. It's also interesting here that, there's no quotation here, that when Fitzgerald's choosing not to show all of Nick's dialogue, I've been noticing that throughout this whole typing process, he just says, or the character, the narrator, just goes, I try to lead the conversation back this way, instead of actually having, I said this, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's a very interesting technique to just keep the pace of the story moving forward. And it also leaves a bit of imagination. It's like, okay, like what did he actually, how did he approach that? And he becomes a not super reliable narrator that way, I believe, because it kind of makes him look a little bit better, because we don't know how he's asking her about her daughter. But he's pushing it. He seems like that's the right way to go. But it clearly isn't, right? She was so nice to him earlier, and now she's kind of taking a bit of a turn. Okay. She's gonna open up. Let's finish another page. It's always so nice too. I think it'll be really nice when I'm like over here, you know, when I'm like typing this part. Still so early in this journey. It's a little daunting. Like, this might Everest. Yeah. We struggle. Oh, man. I think that does do a very good job at telling us and Nick about her current headspace. She has gotten very cynical. I think that reveals a lot about her character, and it's actually very powerful, because I don't know what it's like to give birth and to have all these, but I do know people, when you ask people like who are like having a baby, and it's like, do you want like a boy or a girl? Do you want a boy or a girl? That's like a common question, and sometimes they give you like an honest answer. Sometimes they say like, oh, it doesn't matter, we'll love them both the same. But it's kind of very different experiences when you think about it, especially in the 1920s. And almost feels like you're gambling. And to be that, and to have experienced what it's like to be a woman, like, and to understand all the difficulties of going through, and to realize that you're giving birth to someone without certain privileges, and you realize how hard life is going to be for this child you bring into the world, you feel worried. And I think that's it's kind of how Daisy feels at this moment. Just like she'll be fine, but she won't really have her own personality, her own thoughts. They aren't really going to matter, because some dude is just going to come along, plant a baby in her, and that's it. Kind of going a little crazy there, Daisy. It's always interesting when people say, like, I've experienced so much, I have so much experience, I've been so many places, I know how terrible the world is. And there's this song called Cynicism, and it goes, there's this line that goes, cynicism isn't wisdom, it's just a lazy way to say that you've been burned. I think it's by an artist called Nana Grizzle, and I think that line really resonated with me whenever I experience cynicism, because I think it's kind of true that when you're a cynic, you're just trying to see these negative aspects, and just like, I've had bad things happen to me before, so I'm gonna assume more bad things are gonna happen. But it's like, is this helpful? Is this beneficial? Is this a good way of living? Is this knowledge? Or is it just saying that, you know, I've experienced this and it sucks, and you're just warning people? I don't know. Something to think about. I don't know. I guess I can't get too deep in that right now, but it's something I like to think about sometimes when I catch myself, and that's definitely where Daisy is, and I feel it. Yeah, let's see if Nick can help her. Isn't that a marriage? No one really knows how two people behave when they're alone, right? You can't really judge a marriage just when you're like witnessing it. You know, you have to be invisible, like a fly on the wall, to truly understand what's going on. Anyways, that's the end of a section, and I'm gonna try to do a little something new in this episode. I'm gonna time myself to see how quickly I can type. I feel like this will be a good indicator of how much I improve over the course of typing this whole thing out. I think a stenographer, I think that's how you say it, stenographer, one of those courtroom people that do the typing, they can type up to, I think they have to type around 200 words a minute, which is a lot. That's like a whole page a minute. And so I think that's something to strive for. Wouldn't it be great? So I got my timer here set to 1 minute. It's a little dusty because this is my old iPhone 5, which is, I actually really like this. It's like the perfect size. I wish they would bring this back. Like make it just a little bit smaller. That's my personal preference. You lose like a row of apps, but I dig it. Anyways, I have this timer. I'm ready to start. And so I'm gonna just see how far I go. And then after I finish, I'll reflect on it then. And then I'll also share how far I am, how many words I've typed in this whole entire craziness afterwards as well. So, all right, on your marks, get set. Let me find this and go. Oh no. Like, can you hear that? It's a duck sound. It's a duck. Okay, so that was my first attempt. I think I did okay. Let's see how many words I got here. 56. 56 in 1 minute. That's pretty good. That's almost a word a minute. There was a few long words there too. I remember doing this in high school. I competed in a typing competition. There was no qualifier. I pretty much just raised my hand and said, I would like to do this. And I entered this school regional typing competition. It sounds really cool, but it was actually just a bunch of kids in a computer room typing, so it wasn't that cool. And I did what I thought was pretty well at the time. I think I got 36 words a minute, and keep in mind I was like a 14-year-old, and computer was really new back then, so I didn't do a lot of typing. And that was a good experience. I got a certificate that said I typed 36 words a minute, and I haven't done one of these things since, and it made me feel pretty good right now to see that I've actually improved, almost doubled that speed, and I'm just gonna soak in that for a little. Yeah, I'm better than I was literally 15 years ago, and yeah, that's my little brag of the day. Brag of the day, fun fact of the day, brag of the day. And so 56 words a minute, count it, and we'll see if I do better next week. Remember that, 56. In total, what I've typed so far, up to this point, in 4 episodes, I've typed up 5,012 words. That's pretty good. It doesn't sound like a lot, you know? It just doesn't sound like a lot. But it took me a while. I mean, with all this nonsense in between, but where am I? That was fun. It was certainly not 200 words. That was, now that I think about it, I realize how crazy that actually is. That was actually kind of fun. It gives a little energy to this whole segment, to this whole episode series. it would be nice to see like progress through that as well. Anyways, what is actually being talked about here? Okay, I suppose they're just in the library talking, some sort of crimson room. Danger. It's also very interesting how Fitzgerald is describing this Miss Baker, this Miss Baker lady. I can't tell if he likes her or doesn't like her. Oh, she's Jordan Baker. Okay, I gotta look at this word. Rotogravure. Did I say? Rotogravure? Sorry, I'm drinking this kombucha and it's making me a little burpy. Rotogravure. What? A printing system using a rotary press. I see, yeah, of course. Now the sentence makes sense. That interesting reference. I guess that's what it is. Yeah, all right. I learned something, rotogravure. I don't know if I'm ever gonna use that word for anything. I also don't even know if I'm saying it right. And I also don't know what sport she's playing. She's just in some kind of tournament. I don't know. Let's keep moving. keep thinking his name is Mr. Calloway. It's Caraway. Of the word anon. I think it means now? Like, no. Okay. It's hard to find stuff. Always remind, shortly, yes. And I always remember this funny sketch from Conan O'Brien where he's attempting to bring back old-timey words. Sorry, me explaining it, it's not going to make it funny, but it's just like a really modern scene of just like someone ordering something at a restaurant, and he's like, "Bring that to me, anon." And it was funny. I enjoyed it. So I think we should all bring back these old-timey words, is what I'm trying to say here. We should bring it back, anon. Where am I? Daisy's hilarious. This is a much more delightful scene than many prior. Girl. I really don't like the word aunt, aunt, ought not, shouldn't, like aunt. I can't even say it. Anyways, I don't like that word. It was a setup. It was a setup all along. Whew. Oh, jeez. Oh man, I don't even know if I'll be able to make it to the end of this chapter, and I'm only 2 pages away. I'm feeling the steam kind of burning out here. I would hate to end this episode just on the fringe of finishing a chapter, but I might have to. Maybe I'll just rush through this. Let's see how fast I can type. Oh, uh-oh. Tom, probably not happy about that. Yeah, whatever. Uh-oh, he throws... Oh, jeez. Spelled that word completely wrong. It's right in front of me too. It's weird when you're really just copying the words, but it's like your hands can't, your brain can't even process it. It's like, what I'm about to say is not correct. It's like a form of dyslexia. That's not correct. Don't listen to that. A little too poor. Ah. Darn. Am I spelling it right? No, I'm spelling it right. Blossoms, flower-like, yeah. Interesting use of imagery. I love it. We heard it from 3 people, so it must be true. Like all things. If 3 people agree on something, then it's super credible stuff. It's kind of like, oh, maybe if you are married, then you could kind of be like us. I think that's how Nick is feeling right now. It's like we want to find people who are similar to us, always. So we could build like, it's just easier. Things just work better. But, you know, you gotta live your own life. You gotta live your own life. And feeling that sudden pressure, I'm sure Nick is like, I don't even know if I want to be around you people anymore. Yeah, it's always easier for like a third party when they see some kind of crazy marriage or something to be like, oh, you should just leave, but it's weird that they don't think, why don't they think of that? You could just leave, of course. It's so much we don't understand when we're just looking at someone's life from afar. And I think that's what it's like. We're all trying to make assumptions of people, and I guess that's what writing is. It's creating these characters and allowing them to make assumptions about each other, and their assumptions kind of influence what they say or what they do. That's such a nice realization, you know? It's like, what is so unsatisfying to you that you need to continue to find things that aren't issues to put your energy towards? And it's kind of that way with Tom and how he feels, how this book made him feel. It's like something is hurting your ego, dude, and you're taking it out on the wrong thing, for sure. Oh God, I always have trouble with this word, silhouette. Just my brain can't figure it out. Oh no. Could it be? Oh, it's the Gatsby. So good. What a fun way to introduce him. Kind of ease him in. You talk about all these different. You build the setting, and then you bring him in. It's so easy to just start with him. So it's a nice little lead-in. You finish with it. This was a long paragraph too. Oh, a chapter, the full chapter. It's something you have to have a lot of confidence. It's so easy to start the chapter just with like, Great Gatsby, he's right there in front of you. Oh, it's so bold, just to. Good realization there. Let's see what am I doing here? Oh. That's the end of chapter 1. It's actually good that one thing I admire about Nick is he's very observant and he's able to recognize that hey, Gatsby doesn't want to be talked to right now and resists. He's giving every kind of body language that he doesn't want to be approached, and he adjusts himself. He stops himself from doing it, because sometimes I feel like I'm giving off like I'm just out here walking my dog, and just giving off the energy that I just want to be alone. And still people come up and they try to talk to me. It's really annoying. I'm not the friendliest person in the world, to be honest. Wow, what a first chapter. This was wow, what a first chapter. What a thing to say. It kind of sets everything up, right? And like not much really happens. I'm not even sure if this is like a hero's journey type of book, but you kind of, all the characters are kind of there right in the first chapter. I think that is something to recognize and appreciate and strive to do. First chapter is almost 6,000 words, which I think is the ideal length for a chapter, actually. And so it does everything pretty nicely. It sets up all the characters and introduces the setting and kind of hints at certain problems and conflicts to come. That I guess that's something to acknowledge. Yeah, so there you go. Next week, we get right back into it. We start chapter 2. More fun facts about Fitzgerald. I'll try to do other interesting things too. I want to start talking about the act of copying itself and what people say about this technique, maybe some science elements to it. I want to start bulking this up, actually like really learning about what happens to the brain when we do this and how to actually do it properly, and the act of me like talking about it out loud. It's like, what does that actually do, and how is that actually helpful? And maybe talk about different art forms and the act of copying in different art forms, like music. The way you learn music is from playing songs that other people have composed. The way we draw, we often copy things. I mean, the act of drawing itself is almost the act of replicating. And it's strange that when we think about writing, we don't often think about this technique as being like something that should very much be incorporated into the whole process of learning how to write, learning how to write better. Like, for example, only in really early elementary school do we actually copy something, right? There's this sort of push to write in your own words, write it in your own words, and learn through that kind of like, you need to be creative, you need to think for yourself, like put it in your own words. And how that sort of, I don't want to say like hinders growth, but it definitely doesn't, it's only like one kind of aspect of learning. And yeah, so I want to start talking about all that other stuff as well, like doing, really bulking this series up, because we're going to be here for a while. And I want to deliver more value. So that's it. That's the end of chapter 1. That's the end of episode 4. So I'll be here again next week, same time, Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. All right. I'll see you guys next week. This was fun.